Today it's all about sharing my testimony about abortion. Welcome. My name is Dee Latoya Matthews, your Freedom Ambassador, and I am on a mission to prepare women who've experienced abortion and trauma into true freedom and lasting transformation because I just truly believe that abortion did not abort the promises that God has for you. And so, thank you so much for joining me on today. Today is very personal. I am coming to share my testimony about me moving from abortion into purpose and just to be an encouragement to someone on today. Because I know that abortion can be hard and it's such a taboo subject, but I want to share my voice in this area. So, in 2003, I graduated high school. May of 2003, I graduated. And in July of that same year, I found myself walking into the clinic in a small town in Mississippi and hearing those three words that I never thought I'd hear. You are pregnant. And oh my gosh. At that moment, after she got done talking, after the nurse told me the results, I didn't hear anything. It was almost kind of like Charlie Brown's teacher, womp womp. That's all I heard. Womp 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 womp. Like I didn't hear anything else that she said after that. And so I just immediately thought in my mind, like, I can't do this. I had just moved to that town from another town, and I was like, I had just found out that I had scholarships to go play tennis, I had scholarships to go play basketball, and I was like, there is no way possible that a baby fits in the midst of this. And I just felt like the timing wasn't right. And I had never even heard of the word abortion. I never even knew anything about that, but it was presented to me. And so I was like, well, this is necessary. And so I'm going to do it. Because again, I was like, I am not raising a baby on welfare. And plus, I don't even know if I'm going to still be with this man. And I was like, this is going to be the best thing for me to do. So I made the appointment and I took what I felt was the walk of shame. I walked into that clinic with my head held low, and I don't even remember seeing the faces of the women in that clinic. I just remember seeing the faces and those signs outside of the clinic and thinking that someone is going to see me and notice me and know what I'm doing. And so I filled out the paperwork and I was taken into a room. And I'm sorry, trigger warning. I forgot to give this in the beginning. Trigger warning to anyone that has had one. But I was taken into this room and I didn't even know they offered medical pill abortions at that time. So I had the vacuum. And so I just remember laying on that table. I don't remember much that happened on the table. All I remember is just looking around the room and seeing these jars with other babies in it. And I just remember thinking that my baby's going to be in one of those jars. And I don't even remember the sex of my baby. And it's a lot of things that you will hear me say what that I don't remember. I just truly do not remember that time. I just remember having that procedure done. And I remember going into the back room, the recovery room, and sitting there. And it felt like I sat there for a long time, but I know that I didn't. And being in that dark room so that I could recover and leaving out and going to sit in the truck with my boyfriend at the time awkwardly, and we went school shopping afterwards because I was getting ready to go to college. And so in my mind, I was like, well, we still got things to do. So we went school shopping, and you know, it's almost like we were pretending like nothing ever happened, like we just pushed it at the back of our minds immediately. And I got to my aunt's house, and I remember going to my aunt's house and sitting in the back room, and I put all the stuff down, and I guess the busyness of the day just kind of exited. And I just remember sobbing and sitting on that bed, sobbing, crying, asking God, Like, what did I just do? And my boyfriend must have been feeling the same way because he came to pick me up shortly after. And we sat in the truck and I just sobbed and cried on his shoulder. And it was just the worst day I felt like of my life. And I remember after that, I started college, went and did the things that I said that I was going to do. But for the next 10 years, I prayed and asked God to forgive me every single day. Like, there wasn't a day, a moment that didn't go by that I didn't ask God to forgive me for what I had done. And I moved to Georgia shortly after I graduated. The day after I graduated, I moved to Georgia in 2006. And after that, my grandmother had told me right before I left, do not go to Georgia and get pregnant. What did I do? I moved to Georgia in May, and by October, I found out that I was pregnant again. But this time I was like, I'm not going through an abortion again because I already felt like I had been through hell and back and was still going through hell with that. And so I was like, well, I'm going to have this baby because I'm not going through that again. And I remember having being pregnant with my daughter, and I had started a new job, my first professional job, working in banking. I was really excited. But I remember telling my friend, and not telling her, I asked her, how can I take care of one when I've given up another? Like, the turmoil, of having one and then having another kid. And it was like, I still haven't had time to heal from the procedure that I've had. And now I'm pregnant again, 3 years later, but I'm still dealing with this thing. And so I just remember telling her that, like, how can I take care of one when I've given up another? And, I just broke down in that break room at work, and she consoled me and comforted me. And I had my daughter in 2007, and my mother came to help me with her. And I remember my mom holding her. And when my mom held her, she stopped crying. But when I held her, she would cry. And I ran out to the car. It was a hot day in Georgia, hot. I didn't turn the car on. I didn't let the windows down. It was burning up on the inside of that car. But I remember calling my husband, and he was in Mississippi, and I said, she doesn't love me. And he was confused because he was like, what is happening right now? I'm like, our daughter, she doesn't love me. In my mind, because of what I had done, I felt like my daughter didn't love me at 2 weeks old. And that was like, she doesn't even know what love is. But the way my mind was going, the way my mind was thinking was that this is the punishment of what I get for the procedure I had done, that she's not going to love me. And so I equated her crying to not loving me, when in actuality, it may have been postpartum, distress, and no one had ever talked to me about that. And so, we're going on about things and going on about life, and I'm still unhealed, and I'm still trying to take care of a child, and still thinking that I didn't have love to give her. And I remember, time had passed, and my pastor had introduced us to this book called The True Measure of a Woman by Lisa Bevere. And in that book, she talked about cleaning out closets. And I knew that at that moment when I read that section, that it was God telling me that I had to clean out my closet, because I was suffering. It was like life had been sucked out of me, and I was showing up to church every Sunday. And now it felt like spiritually life was being sucked out of me as well. And I remember even before then, my pastor looking at me, telling me, and she looked into my eyes and she said, I see death in your eyes. And I knew that she wasn't lying, because I was just ready to give up on life because of the torment and because of the turmoil that I was facing at that time when not being healed. I was just ready to die. My soul was dead, and I physically wanted to die. And so I just remember her telling me that, and I was just ready to leave my husband and my daughter behind, because it felt like too much. But then she introduced us to this book. And what she didn't know at the time of us reading the book, I had this pain in my stomach that was almost like, it was like that I was going to have to live with this for the rest of my life. It was like, this is the punishment that you get for the choice that you made. And so I was feeling that, and we read that book. And again, it was like, it's time to clean out your closet. And I sat on that bed, and the second question was, what is it that you have to offer to someone else? And I remember just breaking down, because I'm like, God, I don't have anything else to give anybody. I have no value. Like, why did you create me with no purpose? Like, why am I even here? And I just sobbed and I cried. And I remember going back to the women's group, and thank God it was a small group of people, because I was like, I'm not ready to share in front of all these people. And I told my pastor what I had done. And she said, sweetie, God forgave you the very first time that you prayed. And I cried. And I remember that day so vividly, because it was also the day when she said that. It was also the day that the pain in my stomach went away. I haven't felt that pain in my stomach since that time. She said that, and it was like a gift that I didn't know that I needed, the gift of forgiveness. And I now know that that was unforgiveness that I was holding in my body. And so hearing her say that freed me in so many ways, because she delivered it with compassion. She delivered it with love. And that was something that I needed at that time. And so I just, remember starting my healing journey after she said that. And so I just want to encourage someone today that God forgave you the very first time that you prayed. If you've been praying and asking God to forgive you, He's forgiven you. He has forgiven you, and this is the gift that you need to open up. This is the gift that you need to receive. The gift of forgiveness is waiting for you, and it's ready to be received, and God isn't holding it over your head. So don't you keep holding it over your head. I'm going to do another part on this, because I know this could take a long time. So this is just the first part of, of this, but I'm going to share a second part of getting beyond that to where I am now. But I just want to encourage someone that because you had this, because you had that abortion, it doesn't mean that it aborted the promises God has for you. And you don't have to continue to carry the shame. You don't have to continue to carry the regret. You don't have to continue to carry the things that you've been carrying. God has given us a free gift, and we have to open it, because so many times we're given a gift, but we don't open the gift. And so I want to encourage you to get the gift, receive the gift, open the gift, and receive what's on the inside of it, because there's so much more on the other side of this. And so I'm just on a mission to share this, because so many women are being robbed of so many things that God has for them, because being stuck in that cycle and being stuck in that bondage of having, this procedure. And so I just wanted to share this, and I'll be sharing part 2 of this. And I just want to thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Again, I'm just on a mission to make sure that women receive the love of God, that women receive the compassion, that women receive the mercy. The same thing that was granted to me, I want to give to others, to help them move beyond where they are, to step into their identities, to step into their purpose, to step into the love of God, and to step into relationship with God, because He is waiting on you. So I pray that this blesses you. And until the second part, meet me here again and share this out with someone that you think needs to hear it. God bless.